Hey everyone, this is Priscilla with the Essential Priscilla, and we're just going to go over some of the basics and essential oils and show you how to use them, how I use them on a a real life basis, and that's going to be the same way that you use them too in your life. So I'm just going to start with a couple of my favorite oils that you probably have heard of. They're some of the more well-known oils. And this is how I carry mine around in a little bag. I always have them with me. And just so you know, like everyone else, I've had a long week. This week I've been traveling a lot. I've been with a lot of people. I've had early mornings and late nights, so I'm a little bit worn out and tired, and just have stretched my days, stretched myself a little too far this week. But I'm completely supported with what I carry around with me in this little bag. Right before I started filming this video, I needed to kind of wake up and get with it. So what I did was I have my peppermint with me. Everybody's heard of peppermint. That's a really common and really powerful oil. So what I did was, and there's a couple different ways to use essential oils that we talked about in our last segment. This one I'm actually going to start out using internally. So peppermint feels really cool and fresh. It's you think of a breath mint and you take a deep breath in when you eat a breath mint. You're minty and you're getting oxygen to your brain and you're awake all of a sudden. So that's what I'm actually going to use it for. So I just rolled a little bit on my thumb and I just licked it off my hand, and then I take a couple deep breaths in and I'm like, okay, I'm awake now, I'm ready to do this video. And so, even my hand feels cold now that I have that. So, and that leads me to the next way that I'm gonna use it. So we're walking around and it's summertime and the sun came out and it's warm and I already run hot anyways. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple, a little bit on each side of my neck, maybe on the back of my neck a little bit. And immediately, on contact, that's gonna start cooling me off too. And I have great breath now. But that's going to start cooling me off, and then I'm going to be able to actually finish talking to you today because I'm not melting into a puddle because I put my peppermint oil on. That is probably one of my favorite oils because I'm like our family's heater. I'm always running warm, and so I love that cooling feeling. So that I just used it topically and internally, and because it smells so wonderful, it's actually making me more alert too, and that's aromatically. So I already hit all three ways. The next oil that I'm going to use to kind of help support myself after, like I said, a long week, and I'm sure all of you guys have had a long week before, is I'm going to use some kind of citrus oils. I'm going to use a lemon or an orange or something, and that's just to kind of uplift me. Sometimes when you're tired, you can get a little cranky and you're a little bit edgy or irritable, and so you need something positive. And there's nothing more positive than the smell of an orange or a lemon. So that I'm just going to take, and same thing, I might just roll that in my hands and rub it together and then take a deep breath. I'm just going to take a couple seconds, smell the roses, smell the flowers. I'm going to take a couple seconds to smell the citrus, and that's going to just put me in a better mood so that if somebody asks me a question, or if I have to do one more thing this week after a long week, I'm sure, no problem. I'm in a better mood. So very uplifting. And it also helps kind of support my immune system too, because sometimes when you get tired, your immune system is not so great, and that's when you start to kind of feel wonky or catch things, and this is a really good way to keep yourself alert and awake and happy, even if you are a little bit run down. So one of the other issues that I deal with as well, when I get overtired or when I've taken in a lot of information or I've been really busy, my mind keeps racing well into the night, and I'm already a night owl, so I need something to help me kind of turn it off. So I'm thinking of my to-do list for not just the next day, probably the next week, month, or rest of my life right before I start to go to sleep. So what I'll do is I'll take, and I know you guys have heard of lavender, an oil like lavender is going to be that calming oil, help you, rest well and get to sleep and stay to sleep. So that you can have a good night's rest and just recover and regain your energy and start fresh the next day. So I really need that at the end of a long week like this. So that oil I'm probably going to as well, I'm going to put it in between my hands and take a few moments just to smell it. I'll put it on the bottom of my feet so that it continues circulating in my body as I'm sleeping, and then I'm also going to diffuse it in a diffuser. And it's just a great way to relax and calm yourself and get you to kind of let go of all those thoughts that you are running in this hamster wheel, right? It kind of And I might put a few drops on my pillowcase too. That's a great way. Or maybe just on my chest a little bit. My husband puts it on his mustache, and that's his like personal diffuser. So whatever way works for you, works for me. But that's a great way to kind of, because we can't have our energy back if we don't rest well. So we need to pay attention to our self-care that way. So right there, I just used 3 oils in all 3 ways that you can use essential oils. They're going to support me when I am, burning the candle at both ends, which I know a lot of us do. And then I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to be ready to go on Monday morning, just like the rest of you are, and I'm going to be re-energized and really have supported myself. And that's a big thing that we need to kind of stay conscious of these days, is not running ourselves down and supporting ourselves. And this way, I can do it completely naturally. So those are the basic first couple oils, and it's really easy. I just gave you a few ways to use them. And in the next few segments, we'll go over some of the other oils to support ourselves in a very simple and easy way. I'm Priscilla with The Essential Priscilla, and stay tuned for the next segment.